The resurrection of Jesus in Luke's gospel has some really interesting dimensions to it. Luke spends quite a bit of time, a full chapter, giving us resurrection appearances, places where Jesus shows up after his death and his followers encounter him alive again. One of the scenes is where people are traveling to another village called Emmaus in Luke 24, and they don't recognize Jesus. He walks with them. They don't know who he is. He even explains the scriptures to them about what has to happen to the Messiah, but it makes their hearts burn inside them, but they still don't recognize him. They don't recognize him until at a meal, he breaks bread and gives it to them. And then they know who he is. And then he vanishes from their sight. They go back to Jerusalem. They see others who say, "We've seen the Lord." And then Jesus appears suddenly in the room with them. So what's going on? A couple of things. One is that explaining doesn't make people encounter the risen Jesus. They have to actually meet him, encounter him, and he has to reveal himself to them in some way, like around the meal, around the breaking of the bread. The other thing is there is both continuity and discontinuity. What do I mean by that, and why is that important? Well, on the one hand, he's very much a real person. He's the same old Jesus. They touch him, he eats food, they talk with him, he's a real body. On the other hand, he's quite different. He can disappear, he can pass through walls and do stuff that an ordinary body cannot. Why is that important? Well, it's important, I think, for how Luke thinks about the resurrection and how Luke would lead us to think about the resurrection. That for Luke, it is not simply restarting the clock or rewinding the tape so that Jesus gets to be alive again. It's not the resuscitation of a corpse. There's also something brand new here, right? It's a different kind. He's raised to a different kind of existence. So that's important. He's got to be the same Jesus for it to be resurrection, for it to be connected to the whole ministry and life and death. But there's also got to be something new if it's not just, again, it's setting back the clock, but actually being raised to something new, to new promises, to new existence, to a whole new way of being. Luke doesn't explain that. He doesn't give us a chapter of lectures, but he shows us that through the way in which Jesus becomes real to his followers and how they encounter him and how they come to know him in these scenes.